Well, ladies and gentlemen, after a very long wait, the Avatar franchise has finally returned to us in Season 2 of the Legend of Korra, the sequel series. So we have the sequel season to the sequel series. Uh, Legend of Korra Season 2 Spirits, and right off the bat we have really the two-parter. Thus far, both of their showings have been shown back to back. Episode 1, Rebel Spirit, and Episode 2, The Southern Lights. They flow very well together as a two-parter, and it looks like the first true two-parter, though, is next episode, which starts off with Civil Wars Part 1, Civil Wars Part 2. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So, going right in, the animation style, despite the delay, this is kind of always a thing with a series. It's kind of separate because the first season was done as a one-off. It was started as a one-off, and about halfway through, they finally I don't know why Nickelodeon didn't think this would be more successful, considering the first Avatar series is among its most popular that it's ever done. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why, one, it was conceived as a solid plot, point A to point B, boom. And I hope they do kind of continue that through the series, because one of the things that always gets me is when a series ends before its plot ends. So if they want to do, if hopefully the spirit not stuff gets resolved by the end of this season, and next season will be something else. But let's get into these actual first two. So pretty much the entire cast returns, plus some additional cast members, and I guess we'll talk about them since they're really the X factor here. Probably the big one. You've got the twins. I guess we'll get them off. Who are just, they're written to be weird. They're kind of, they add some humor to it. They just don't seem like they should be. They really don't seem like their father's children. I mean, I'm gonna get the names, even though I just watched the episode, all mixed up. But let's see. Unalak, he needs a bit of a discussion there because I think they kind of dropped the ball a little too fast with him. But you got Eska and Denza. They do not seem like they're the father, who's supposed to be the ultra spiritualist, and they seem like they're Vulcans. Actually, it's kind of weird because I just finished watching Star Trek Into Darkness, and then I watched this. So I'm like, they're Spock. They're Spock's children. Yeah, you don't see the connection as much there. Maybe we'll meet the mother at some point, and then things will become clear. Either that, or there'll be some sort of. Actually, I'm wondering now. Maybe there is some. Maybe there's something there where they're not actually quite human. That would be interesting. Are they just weird? Either one. But I did find some humor for them. They might get a little tiresome after a while. James Remar enters the series, another big name for what is traditionally a children's area, even though I have a feeling like half the audience that watches the show is adults. James Remar is Tonrak. You guys know me with the name, its pronunciations, alright? We don't have to get into that discussion. I liked him. You certainly see it sets up the conflict with him. The fact, especially in episode 2, he reveals the big secret that he was apparently excommunicated. Well, not excommunicated, exiled from the Northern Water Tribe, and he came to the South. Kind of interesting. I like that they do seem to be adding up more, because his role. I kind of wondering what exactly his role is in the South. Is he a general still? He was a general in the North before he was exiled. I mean, I suppose giving birth to the Avatar would kind of re-elevate your status in the South over the years, but yeah, so that's certainly the conflict with him. Although they do a very interesting thing with obviously this whole underlying theme of this season. While the last one was about equality, this one is about the balancing act of tradition and progress. And they do a very interesting thing in that they kind of, because you know at the end they're going to show the value of tradition to a degree. But Tarlak's father, or sorry, Tonrak is the one that's more for the progress, the more for the reason. You know, he's going to use devices and such. He's not stuck in the old ways. So he's the more progressive of the two. It's kind of interesting because normally in this type of setup you'd make Korra's father the one that's the more progressive, pro-technology and all that stuff. While, you know, it'd be the uncle who we're probably supposed to view as a little bit of the antagonist, we'll say at this point. As being probably, traditionally would be the more, we should go with technology, screw the old ways type guy. But the writers of this show are very, very good at turning tropes on their heads and creating very complex political situations and characters. They're very, you know, obviously a big thing of theirs is there's no true evil people. Even the last season, the goals of the terrorists were laudable and maybe legitimate. So, very interesting to see how that's going to all roll in up with those two. Well, I'll get into a little bit more about that near the end, but very interesting how they kind of flip that, what you'd expect that type of relationship to be. So they're certainly not following the stereotype. As for his performance, he turned heel too quickly, and for those of you unfamiliar with that, it means he's becoming too much of a. The audience is kind of thinking he's the villain, because by the end of the second episode, the troops are arriving, and the fleet is there, and they're taking over, and at least we as the audience are like, he's the villain, and to a degree, the material they were releasing beforehand made it clear that this was going to be a civil war type situation between the two brothers. So I have a feeling that really kind of ruined it. If I went into this not knowing that what was going to happen, I probably would have been more supportive of that character, liking it, going, oh wow, this guy's really reasonable, he seems to really be the one that truly knows what's going on. But because of the materials they've released, they kind of told us about what was going to happen. You knew he was going to do the heel turn. So that kind of ruined it for me. But alas. Speaking of which, they really need to resolve the gun issue. What I mean by the gun issue is, it's clear they're at 1920s level technology, but it seems outside of bending, they're still using medieval weapons. And I kind of thought that they were going to address, maybe we'll see that next episode, but they do kind of show like 20 years prior they're still using, we get that flashback with Tonrak, they're still using blades, and that's about it. I think even when you see the honor guard, when the northern guys first arrive, they have spears. You know, when you have zeppelins and stuff, and I know maybe the north isn't, or the south isn't supposed to be the most advanced place in the world, but they still had snowmobiles. You gotta give them some firearms of some sort of weapon now is kind of needed. It's just really off-putting to see that. Where's the electric guns from last season that they kind of developed? Those should be your standard issue now to people that aren't benders. I don't know, maybe we'll see some stuff next episode, because that looks to be more about kind of the developing Civil War scenario. Rounding out the newcomers, we've got another big name, Liesl Edelstein. Uh, Dr. Cuddy from House. I loved House. Apparently now doing voice acting. Of course, unseen thus far is Gray DeLessie. Probably mispronouncing that. Who's going to be the Dark Spirit voice, probably your real main antagonist of the series. And Steven Yeun of The Walking Dead fame, as he's got about, I think, 2-3 episodes as the very first Avatar, and I'm starting to see how that plot line is probably going to develop. Mainly coming from kind of how they kind of split up the band a bit from last season. They kind of have the Aang family going off and having their own thing. Basically, Korra winds up telling Tenzin, okay, that's enough. Moving on. I'm going to go with my uncle here. He seems to be more in tune, and frankly, we do see. He seems at first to have a lot of legitimate stuff, that he's more in tune with the spirits, so she kind of tells him to go away. Sorry, J.K. Simmons. And I was kind of worried at first. I'm like, wait, is J.K. Simmons leaving the series? Is he like going to show up maybe later on? But no. It kind of follows through. He starts visiting the air temples with his relatives, who, that is, Lisa Edelstein is playing that. She's Kaya, the waterbender sibling, and we do see more of the Boomy sibling as well. But as he's visiting, we start to see that Jinora is getting visions now as she's visiting. Of course, she's always been the more serious of the airbending children. And a little unclear who that avatar is supposed to be that she's seeing in her vision right now. Is it the first avatar? I've seen the art that they're doing for that guy. He didn't quite look like him, so is that supposed to be Korra? Don't know. As for the so that's our characters. As for the plot, clearly, if you're looking at influence right here, it's Lovecraft. Tell me this isn't inspired by Lovecraft this season. You've got these spirits that look like eldritch horrors. It's set in the South Pole of the planet. They're traveling out there. The spirits look horrifying. They look spooky. You're finding secret. I guarantee you, as we progress, there's gonna be more little obvious Lovecraftian references. It's not heavy. It's not like the frickin' the Ghostbusters episode where they actually fought Cthulhu. And for the younger viewers out there, they're very confused about what I'm talking about. It's a book. Go read it. Brilliant. You'll either become amazed or go insane. But obviously, huge influence from Mountains of Madness. So yay! I'm loving that. I'm a big Lovecraft fan, so I'm glad to see that stuff coming in there and playing a role. As for the characters, Mako's basically exactly where he left off. It's going to be interesting to see Asami. She's trying to redevelop and get her father's company back on track. Apparently, nobody wants to do business with them, since the whole, we were the main funding behind the equalist movement. I have a feeling, though, she's kind of made a deal with the devil. I'm curious how they're going to go with that. Does she wind up selling her airplanes and such? Did they get adapted for war use, and she's basically winds up selling her goods as? Does she become an arms supplier? Unwittingly, I'm kind of wondering if she gets dragged into that, not really noticing, like before she notices it. Oh crap! It's gonna be interesting how they work with that. But we see her doing her thing. sorry, did I say Mako was doing the pro bending thing? No, Mako is doing he's now a cop, which makes a lot of sense actually. So he's not doing the pro bending thing, and I think a lot of fans are kind of happy they're kind of backing away from the pro bending thing. Some aren't. I guarantee you some aren't, but I think a lot of them felt that was kind of the dragging part. It was fun when it lasted, but Bolin's still doing that, having other people, and they're not as well. They're not as good as they used to be. But Mako as a cop, we got like a little bit of that. He's trying to shoot out the one-liners, like he's a '80s action movie cop. We'll see as the story progresses if we get more into that. If there's more elements of him being a cop, or is that just like they just kind of throw that out there? It takes time. It will take some time to see where they go with that. I have a feeling the next episode's going to be the big one for seeing how things go. Again, I wish they kind of dragged out the heel turn a bit, because it Unilac. I know I'm getting that wrong. Sorry, guys. I know I did watch the episode, but they kind of shoot the name so really fast. And now that I have the written version in front of me, anyway, I think I still say they really should have dragged him out at least till next episode before he starts to do the heel turn, before he starts to go, well, we'll bring in experts to help you guys out. I really feel like we'll see how this progresses. Just what they do with that, but I kind of feel like that was really, think about it, last season, how long before the Equalists actually made their big move? How long were they built up? How long before you really saw them as a major terroristic threat? The first episode or two, I think you were really they were very much as protesters in the background. You barely noticed them. And then, they weren't launching the revolution by episode 3. That was very near the end of the season. So, sorry about that, guys. Had to get a little drink there. It's going to be interesting to see how that. I guess I'll wait and see how the overall story progresses, but I have a feeling they really should have dragged out that heel turn a bit, and so it was a little bit more subtle, a little bit more slow. He gives some big clues, but it would have been nice for us to see how maybe then Korra can get dragged into this type of political situation, to understanding when and I think coming at this as a children's movie, trying to pass lessons, very mature lessons, kind of maybe at the same time teaching kids to really pay attention to what people and leaders say, and understand they have to really question, what exactly do you mean when you say that? What exactly do you mean by teaching and bringing in line? There's the questions you should have asked. So that's why I say maybe if this was about 5 episodes before they really have the troops invading the South, I think there would have been a better lesson in there because of that. We really see her get taken. You don't see her really question. It really would have been good as a teaching tool. That's my opinion. Anyway, excited for next episode. Sorry if I was a little late on this. I did miss the premiere. If you haven't been paying attention to the news, I've stated several times that I'm here on the Jersey Shore, right across from Seaside. We kind of had a massive fire burn down half the boardwalk. I was a little occupied with that the past couple days. So that's what kind of has kept me distracted from catching the premiere. But caught the rerun on Saturday night, so I'm good. Stay tuned, of course, next week for more review. As obviously it's the first episode, it's hard to go on with what's. We'll see how the characters and the story progresses. So with that being said, stay tuned for next week. Please subscribe, like, share, all that regular stuff. And keep on staying tuned, I guess. I don't know. I need to come up with an ending thing. Maybe I'll use that. Bye. Caught something I just had to mention. Two things actually I forgot to mention, so I had to add this little on at the add this on at the end. One, the industrialist guy character. Yeah, that's probably how Wall Street works with some of these guys. They're kind of crazy. That interesting how that guy will turn out. But more importantly, number two, yeah, we know what the fan artists, and since there might be some younger viewers on here, I won't say the actual term. But that scene with the tentacle creature spirits, we know what the fan art's going to be on that, right? Don't we? Yeah, yeah. It was bad before, especially that from that one scene with Amon when she was all. We know what was made as a result of that. Considering that these are anime fans, a lot of times it's I'm afraid to check DeviantArt right now because I have a feeling I know what's going to be on there. Yeah, the there's going to be some of those type of pictures made about that scene, and I had to put that in there because I know that you're going to see a lot of it. It's already hard to search. Just try typing in Korra with the no, actually, never mind, because again, there might be some younger fans, but if you're older, you guys probably know what I'm talking about, especially if you've been on the internet for a while. All right, that's it. Just wanted to mention that. I don't know why, but I did. Signing off, guys. This time for real.